This meeting is being recorded.
And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your hosts tonight, Dave Bartlett, Pete Goslaw, Joey Riom. This is going to be a very special broadcast. I can't wait to do it. Anybody that grew up in the North Country back in the 80s knows each and every one of these three gentlemen that we're going to interview tonight. Justin Leonard, Troy Turner, Pony Roosevelt Bullock, all from the Potsdam State men's basketball team champions in 1986. Correct? I got it right that time, right, gentlemen?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Welcome to the broadcast. Can't wait to get into this. Very excited to do it. I'm going to turn it over to Joey to get things rolling, but welcome aboard, fellas. It's an honor to have you on here. You're all true heroes of mine from the 80s, trust me. All of us. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Well, guys, this has been a long time coming. I know we kind of talked about this back in November when Francesco's documentary about the Bodacious Bears came out, and we had our red carpet ceremony. We know we interviewed. There's Dave's holding that up, and what a great weekend that was to be able to see all you guys, meet all you guys, to see you guys together, and how happy and joyous it was. Dave and I just knew that we were going to have to get a bunch of you guys on the show. We've had Jerry on, Coach Welch. We've had Steve Babiars on, and now we're going to dive into with you three. Tim Dempsey, who helped with the showing of that. We were supposed to interview him last night, but we're going to do it next week. So we've got a lot of people from those Potsdam State Bear days that we're going to interview over these next few days. But we can't wait to get going with you guys. And I guess we're going to start with you, Troy. We'll let you guys all introduce yourselves, sure. Reintroduce yourselves back to the North Country, and tell us what you're doing now, where you're at, and then we'll dive in from there.
Okay. Troy Turner, from Albany, New York. Went to Potsdam in 86, John? 86, right?
84, 85 was
84, 85. Got you. What else about me? I'm currently working for the state of New York as a quality assurance specialist for the Department of Labor. Hope to retire in a couple years. I wish it could be next week, but I gotta hang on. However, everything is going well. I'm just relaxing at home. I don't really do too much other than go to work. I may scout some high school basketball games when they happen. I'm a Channel 13 All-Star Scout. So I get to go watch high school games and kind of pick players who we think should be an all-star for the year. And that's a big deal because a lot of the kids are looking forward to that, and they want that. So if they don't get it and they think they deserve it, you can sometimes get hostile type of looks and talks toward you. But other than that, I'm just enjoying my life right now. Just enjoying everything. Everything is going well. I'm just happy to be alive right now. Yep.
We're happy you're alive, Troy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. A couple times I wanted to jump off a bridge, but I can't do that. John will get mad at me. Pony and John will get mad at me if I did something like that.
That is good enough. So I guess I'll just go on from there. Of course, I'm still who I used to be back in the 80s, but a little older, of course, and wiser and larger. But Pony Bullock. And right now, I'm on my 31st year in juvenile justice with New York State. And I'm just about ready to hang it up myself. But it's been going good. I have a great career. Met a lot of good people in my work. And, what set the stage, I think, from what I do now, it still harkens back to that great one, Mr. Jerry Welsh. He wasn't the first one. When I think of him, when I think of my mom, I think of him because he was like the backup to my mom at such an early age. But right now, like I said, I've had, I'm fairly healthy. I've had a good life. Got 3 young ladies that's gotten through high school, college, doing pretty well for themselves. So I'm blessed and doing okay so far, so good. With that being said, I'll pass it on to John.
Thank you, Pony. John Leonard. I am class is 86, Potsdam. Troy and actually I went up 84, 85 with Brendan Mitchell. Troy and I know each other because we played high school ball against each other, actually, with Brendan and Troy. So we went a kind of circle around, but ended up, at Potsdam and had 2 great years. Actually, we were runners up in 85. We lost the championship game by, I think, a point or something, and then came back undefeated. So it was a real special time in Potsdam. I grew up in Troy, New York, went to Catholic Central High School, and today I live down in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in commercial real estate sales. I manage salespeople. I have been with this company. It's called Marcus & Millichap. It's a national company for about 25 years. So it's an interesting point because I've seen Coach Wells. She's in Raleigh now with his family, and his sister Bev lived a block up the street. Her and my wife are good friends, and she just moved up to Raleigh to go into assisted living facility because her son passed away. So been like family with Coach. I know we've talked about this before. Pony Troy is, he's the one guy I call Coach. And I've had coaches in many places, but he's definitely the coach. And lifelong friend, mentor, advisor. When I was in Vegas, actually I moved from Troy to Las Vegas, Nevada, where I hooked up with this company, and I moved to Atlanta. Anytime I moved, I call Coach. I say, Coach, who do you know in the city? Who's a Potsdam guy? And he always had a little book, and he called me in Vegas. There was a couple of alums in Atlanta, actually connected with Chris Kuhn, who was a teammate of ours, who I lost touch with. So, Coach is keeping everybody together. And then when I got into management, I was a salesperson for about 8 years with the company. And I got into management, and I called Coach and said, hey, Coach, I got my own team now. And so this is, 2000 or 1999, so it didn't have the technology today. So he put a big package together of, notes and articles on coaching and all that stuff to send to me. And it's been very helpful. So, he's definitely still a strong presence in our lives. And, Joe, you mentioned that November thing was real special to have, the family up there and to see Coach, God bless him. I'm not sure how many more trips to Potsdam he's got in him, so that was a real good one to be part of, and, a real special film. I was glad to see Troy in that film. He gave me a little shout out, Troy, so I appreciate that, man. That was
The 6'5" point guard. That's who he is. Yeah.
Well, guys, there's so many different directions that we can take this. You're looking at 3 of the biggest fans of your teams in those days in the 80s, and I think back to those times and how Maxie Hall was just jumping, and it was just an event. It was an event to be at a SUNY Potsdam Bear game. And I guess the first thing I got to ask is it easy for you guys to go back and in your mind, close your eyes, a nice quiet moment, and be able to just think of those moments, how packed it was in those gyms, the noise levels and everything that went along with it?
Well, yeah, let me say this. I think about it a lot, and I tell folks all the time, these young kids and young basketball players, how, in college, when I went to college, I don't remember a game that wasn't packed, even on during the Christmas holiday when school was out, the town, they filled the void, very easy. So the other thing is, I don't know if I was as surprised, just because in my high school career, my high school games were packed, home and away too. But the level of fans, the hypeness, the steadiness, every single time, what you were gonna get from and you knew everyone too. And that was the other thing, you know, some of these guys were on your floor in your dorm. So as you're going from your dorm to the game, you're high-fiving out the dorm to, you know, it was just an awesome feeling, and everything was positive. Everything was positive. And if you don't think we fed off that, then you weren't paying attention. Because it was very important, and they sensed it. I think the fans sensed it, and of course it was before we got there. You know, with the Eddie Jacobs and the, you know, Leroy Witherspoon. I mean, Derek, all of those guys, they set the stage for us. So it wasn't us; it was before us, and that's what the whole thing about Potsdam was for us, or for me, anyways. Like, we're picking up where someone else left off, and we got to give back what we were given. And that's what that whole cycle was about for the entire time I was in Potsdam. And it was great.
John, you want to go?
Yeah, well, listen, Pony's got 4 years experience. So, you know, we just had the 2, but it was never, you know, anything but packed. Even when we went on the road, you know, we played to packed houses. So it was exciting. You know, it's always good when there's that energy in the room, in the gym. So it was very exciting. You know, obviously looking at that Bodacious Bears documentary gives you, it's like a history lesson, right? For upstate New York and for everything there. So I didn't know as much about the history until watching that documentary. You know, I knew the names, obviously Mike Dean and, you know, as Pony mentioned, I'm Derek Rowland, you know, his daughter's good friends with my niece and my nephew in Albany area. So, you know, but to have those 4 years, but to be there for 2 years, you know, it was just a great experience. I mean, like I said, we did not play an empty house wherever we went. So special times.
Go ahead. Troy, you want to say something? Because I want to hear.
Sure. Like for myself, I just think like I always go back to the first day I visited Potsdam. I don't know if I was with you, John, or we drove up. I don't think so, but I remember like coming up that road. I don't know what that road is, John.
56, man.
56, okay. 56. And it was like the winding road. It's a long trip, you know, the trees and all that other stuff. And then all of a sudden it just opened up, boom, to this red buildings. And right there at that moment, I was like, this is where I belong. The first day, it was like, because I was always looking for an atmosphere like that, where it was far away from home, but at the same time, you know, like it was small enough that I can kind of, you know, run around and go here, but then it was small at the same time. So you get to your room quick. But I remember just when I saw that redness, and because I knew that basketball wise, we were going to be a really, really good team. I knew that. I knew, you know, how good John was. And I met Pony in the Empire Games.
That's right. Yeah.
Empire Games. So, and I knew how good Brendan was. So I always wanted to play with those two guys. So once Coach had asked, he asked me like, Troy, would you come up and visit us? And I said, yeah, it's too far, Coach. And he says, I got 2 local players that you may know. It was John Leonard and Brendan Mitchell. And it like hit me like, oh, you know. And first thing I said to Coach, there's no line pole, there's no disrespect to anybody. I said, Coach, if I go up there, we should win a national championship. And he was like, why do you think I'm calling you? That's the first thing he said, why do you think I'm calling you? And right there, I just knew. And the thing about coaches, oh my God, I'm talking about Coach a little bit. I get kind of like teary-eyed when I think about Coach, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the career that I have. The job, the money, none of that, you know? And I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, I'm a stubborn person. I don't really listen to a lot of people. I just kind of go with my own instinct. but there's one person that I know got my back. And I can just rest on his judgment and his word. And I mean, that's a big thing for me, guys, because I don't listen to a lot of people. I just don't. Oh, whatever. One and not the other. Oh, whatever. But Coach, everything he said to me, everything he says to me was about my betterment, our betterment, and our well-being, and our family well-being. And so I have not really ran into a person like that in my entire life. Well, maybe one, but that was a short time with that person, but not like Coach Welch. Coach had us and knew what we needed, knew how to treat us. And I am blessed, truly blessed to have been a part of Potsdam State basketball and Potsdam State. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
We've had Coach Welch on here. You guys can look back in our archives on YouTube. Class act all the way. We all knew that growing up. When we went to his camps, we always went to his basketball camps. So let's back up a little bit before the other two guys want to chime in.
Sure.
We're North Country boys. We're all from small towns up there. Potsdam State was the mecca of North Country basketball. All of our tournaments were played up there for all our high schools. All of our, back then, our basketball camps. People came from Canada, other states, from downstate. And we were all, like you said, Troy, everybody was a family.
Yeah.
To Potsdam. And I know exactly where you were coming from. You were coming from Colton area on 56.
Yep.
All those, because Dave and I have traveled, I think all of us have traveled them back roads a lot. Dave has a lot because we used to broadcast up there and we'd go the back way home through there. But I know exactly where you're talking about. You come around the big, because of all these turns and all these lakes, and there's nothing. You turn around this big turn and all of a sudden there it is. It's like you can hear, like, oh, you know, like the North Country.
You get that too, Pete? You get that too?
I hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Time I watched him. So, to Maxie Hall, I hear it all the time. It still gives me shivers down my back to walk in there, even as an older gentleman now. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And just a little story, a little side story I'll tell you before I let these guys. So we broadcast a lot of games up in high school. And when I first started ESS, Empire State Sports, one of the first games we ever did was a championship high school game at Maxie Hall in Potsdam State. In the bleachers, I had bought a small recorder with 2 headsets from Radio Shack, and we did a play-by-play and recorded it in the bleachers. And at halftime, the guy I was with, I told him, I says, next year we're going to be up top right there where all the rest of those guys were calling your guys' games. And we were. So things have come full circle for me too. But just to let you know, Maxie Hall, and talking about Maxie Hall and just talking to you guys just gives me the chills again. It just brings back so many memories, and we talk about this every time we get together and hang out. And I'm sure that's the same thing with you guys. I wish I would have been up there when they did that movie for you guys.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to. I was out of town, but these two guys filled in for us, and I just wish I was there to experience it with you. And I'm really in awe of you guys. I really am. I mean, we just started the show, and this brings back so many childhood memories for us, and I'm sure it brings up a lot of memories for you guys too.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's share something real quick, and I'm talking about the fans, the people in the stands. Y'all was a part of that. Y'all was a part of those, right? Remember, John? Y'all was a part of that. Like, I was thinking about this one day. I was like, you know what? We should have took a team picture with all the fans in the background. like just have everybody standing there like this. Yeah, we're coming at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, because y'all came at other teams, man. Y'all made it like tough for other teams to come through there. Y'all did your job. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You did your job.
And the thing about it is that all of the fans were very knowledgeable, you know, and you know, they knew when to react and how to react. And I just, you know, I remember, you know, when they're doing the team introductions before the game even started, and they're doing, you know, they're introducing the visiting team, and everybody in the fan pulls out a newspaper and like, who? You know, and then of course, you know, the throw in the toilet paper, you know, that's classic.
How many texts did we get? Paul, how many texts did we get for the toilet paper thing? You know?
All I know is it didn't matter because we was banging anyways.
You're absolutely, Pony. There was one game where I think after the toilet paper, there was a technical call. They made the free throw, and then I think at the end of the score was 23-1. You know?
Yeah. Yes, I know exactly what game you're talking about. I reference that game all the time.
Yes.
Who was that we were playing?
I think that was
Alfred State.
Alfred State. Absolutely. Yep. Got into a little back and forth in the hallway before the game. And yeah, we weren't having it that game. I know that game, they were done. They were toast from the very beginning. I remember that game very well. But yeah, we had tradition, and no matter what it was, we stuck to our tradition. No matter what it was, the fans did their thing, we did our thing, and it all came together all the time.
Hey guys, I can't think of who it was that we had just interviewed, but one of our most recent interviews, we talked about that game because the Alfred State game is on YouTube right now. I'll put on YouTube, and that'll be because I look at Potsdam State Bear stuff. That's one of the things that pops up, and I started watching that game. And Dave described exactly what happened, and Pony remembers it. And I'm sure Troy and John do too. But the funniest part was when you guys went on a run after the free throw to make it to 18, 19, 20-1, and they called timeout, and the fans started hollering, "That's our point. That's our point." I mean, I've never heard that anywhere, any other time. I mean, that's how smart those fans were. I mean, it was amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
Hey, you guys ended up winning that game 80-51.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough to get points up there because 23-1. I was on the bench pretty quickly, so it wasn't about personal stats. It was just about wins and losses, and we didn't lose. I had never lost at Potsdam. I don't know, Pony. Did you lose up there?
No, I never lost.
I was up there 4 years, not 2, John.
Okay.
But
didn't lose many though. Didn't lose many.
Home court. Yeah, you didn't lose many.
At home court. Oh yeah, didn't lose many at all.
I was just talking about at Potsdam at home.
Once again, that's part of tradition. So we don't normally lose at Potsdam. So I don't remember too many of those.
As I say, the 1986 Bears were still undefeated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
32-0.
But actually, you said 33 because we played that game in Canada. I think we played somebody and beat them or something with it. So there's technically, I think we were 33, but the NCAA only says 32.
32.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Okay.
Especially the zero.
The zero.
Yeah.
Can I ask John and Pony a question?
Shoot.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Did you guys think that we would go undefeated?
I don't think at the start of the year I thought that, but once we got on a roll, it was like we're not going to lose, right?
Yeah, that's right, John. I saw. Yeah, our senior year because we were still upset about our junior year. Remember how that went?
Yep.
Yeah. So we were like, we're not losing again. I remember that. I mean, we weren't saying we're going to go undefeated, but we were saying we're not going to lose this game, or we're not going to lose any of these games, and we didn't. And we shouldn't have. I mean, we had the better team, and we worked the hardest. And our coach worked the hardest, or our coaches worked the hardest, so it happened the way I thought it was supposed to happen. We had very good players. We had a bunch of good players, and more than that, we had good people,
yes.
All got along. I don't remember anybody having a really big problem with one another. Of course, everyone had their little friendly friend, to some degree, but we all did things together all the time. And the 1 year before you guys got there, we did have some kind of, I don't know, falling out, or it wasn't really good, for a part of this season. I remember Coach put it to a stop very quickly. We were going on to a road game, and we had to stay in a hotel. So we were clicking with one another. We had our own little cliques to a certain degree, and we weren't playing well like we were supposed to. And, we get our roommate, and Coach said, nope, before we get off the bus. He said, you're with him, he's with you, you're with him. And, he mixed us all up. And after that, there was never a problem like that again, because he taught us a lesson, and no one had a problem, because everyone knew he was correct. And it had something to do with our performance, So I respected that about him, because one thing about Coach, he didn't let things linger. He'd give you an opportunity, he'd assess the situation, and then he'd come honing in. He was coming. It's just a matter of time. So everybody knew, what to expect. He clearly laid out expectations, and he was fair to everyone. He really was fair. He would always tell you, I treat the janitor just like I treat the president of the school. No difference. Everybody's the same. So that's what I really got out of him more than anything, was more about who he was as a person.
Yeah.
And then everything after that was gravy.
I don't know if he treated all the players fairly, Pony. I think he treated me harder than he treated Brendan, for damn sure.
Yeah, well, when I say fairly,
Brendan always got hurt at the end of practice, so he didn't have to run sprints. He all of a sudden Brendan's knees hurting him.
That is true. He had to use a lot of psychological on Brendan, though, to get him to where he needed to be.
And he was tough on John, though. He was tough on John.
Oh, yeah, he definitely was.
He was tough on John.
I guess I needed it, man. I guess I needed it.
He was tough on you.
He was tough on Troy, too.
Huh?
But Troy was like, Troy, you said, Troy went in one out the other. Coach, like, yeah, not here.
Not here. But my thing with Coach was, I was kind of like pushing him to see if he cared. Because that's how I've always done. I was always like that, Paul. I would just, do you care? Do you really care? Do you really care? And I would do dumb stuff, guys. I would really do. These guys know the same thing.
He did.
But anyway, like, it was that time, Paul, when we came back from Europe.
Yes.
And Coach had told me in the locker room, he's like, Troy, there comes a time when two people have to get a divorce. First thing I'm asking him, I said, Coach, what's a divorce? And he said that they agreed to separate and leave each other, blah, 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 blah. And right at that moment, I said, Coach, I'm not divorcing you. I'm not divorcing you at all. And then he gave me a couple days to just think about stuff. And then Coach came to my room. And that was all I needed. Do you care? And he showed me that, man. He came to my room. He just talked to me, told me, this is how it's going to be, Troy. And you're part of a team. You're not an individual. Get it right. And right at that moment, I knew what we were doing. I knew we were going. I had so much in my mind. I never wanted to come back to Albany with nothing. I wanted to come back to Albany with the chance of saying, yeah, I'm a champion. I have a college degree. I have this, I have that. And that was the moment that I made that decision. It was hard. That was a hard decision for me, guys. Because I'm, from the streets. Nobody can tell me shit. But Coach brought me back up to the gym. Said, Troy, you got to do something. I said, what's that? You got to apologize to the whole team.
That's right.
Oh, that was hard.
I'm gonna say, as a kid, that had to be really hard.
As a kid, yep, that was tough. A tear came out of my eye because I had to make the choice at that moment, and I did. I apologized, and I like what Pone did. Okay, let's go. Boom, smack me in my butt. Let's go, and that was it. And the rest was history, man. The rest was beautiful. The rest was we got so many accolades from that team, man. One time the governor came up. The governor, after we graduated Poland, all that stuff, the governor was having a midnight basketball. I guess they were doing like this midnight basketball league, and Albany had competed for it. He specifically told the mayor of Albany, I want Troy on that. Specifically told the mayor, I want Troy on that thing.
Sure.
And I was like, wow. Because his son, Chris, told me, his son, Chris, said this to me and at the Y. He used to hang out at the Y. He said, my father, you guys were my father's favorite team, basketball team. That's what he said. That's exactly what Chris Cuomo said to me. And I was like, yeah. I was like, wow, he loved us, Paul. Cuomo did. He understood what we were doing. Yeah, he understood.
I think he was on Johnny Carson, not Johnny Carson, or what's the other one?
Dave Letterman was on Dave Letterman about 86.
Yeah, Dave Letterman. I think it was David Letterman. Yeah, absolutely. You know?
Yeah, he was like just one of the, and he was a good dude, really good guy, down to earth. And I never really talked to him other than up at the when he came up. I asked him for a job, of course. I'm talking too much, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, Coach, I think either Pony or Troy has said this before, you know, in his office was a John Wooden quote, you know, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And, you know, we were over-prepared. We had talent, obviously, but we had great coaching. And, you know, we knew what the other team was going to do. In fact, I think either Troy or Pony was someone say, yeah, you know, you'd say to the player, hey, man, you're supposed to be over here now because this is the play. So, you know, it was preparation. He had it down, you know. There's a reason why he has been an adjunct professor teaching coaching at Duke University for the last, he's retired now, but for 20 years or so.
Yeah.
He had it down. He was just masterful at that. You know, as a kid, you always look back and say, you know, now obviously an old adult, but, you know, we were just punks, just kids, didn't know any better, you know, thought we knew everything, right? As every 20-year-old does, they think they know everything, but, you know, it was important to have that time with the teammates, obviously. And, you know, obviously when you win, it's better than losing. And so everybody's happier. And, you know, we had a great time doing that. So the question, Troy, is did you think we were going to be undefeated?
Yeah.
I always say, you know, we could have been back-to-back champions, but I believe if we won that game in 85, I think it would have been difficult to be undefeated champions just because it would have been a little bit, you know, we just had that chip on our shoulder and we came back and, you know, we were getting back to that game and, you know, we just ended up not losing it all. So, you know, that was, you know, but we were going back. I think we all knew we had everybody back except for we lost Eddie and
Eddie O.
You know,
and Eli.
Well, we lost Eli earlier in the year. That's the reason the coach will say we didn't have two champions back to back because Eli, we lost by a point. Eli's definitely worth a couple of points. I wouldn't say that to his face, but I say that now.
Oh, he was tough. Oh,
Eli was the truth too.
But Coach, you know, Eli made some mistakes on that didn't finish the second half of the year, so that was difficult. And I lived with Eli at the time. I remember Coach coming in and storming in that door and was like, you know, because he got the news before anybody.
Yeah.
You know, he knew, cared about everybody.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer my own question. And right after that game, we lost about 1 point. Right after that game, I think the schedule was out for the next season. And I looked at the schedule and I started counting wins. And then I said, the only place that we might take a bump was Albany. That's the only place I thought we would take a bump. But once we got past that, I was like, we should go undefeated. We should go undefeated. So I really kind of felt that we were going undefeated because after that loss, we was pissed.
Yeah.
we was pissed. And I'm like, if we ever get back here, if we ever get back here, it's going to be a wrap. And I think you're right, John. I think that chip on our shoulder made us like play every minute, every possession to its fullest extent, man. I remember we played New Paltz. I think it was New Paltz. And every possession, we blew them out by 70 points. But the thing about them was they wasn't upset because they knew that we were just playing fundamentally sound basketball and we were just playing the right way. And I was like, damn, wouldn't you be mad if you lost by 70? So,
right. You look at that documentary. I don't know, Pete, if you got it, but they rolled out some of those scores, and it was
106-30 that game. 106-30.
Wow.
Oh goodness.
That was
that
in the game.
Was that game at?
Huh?
Yeah, so you were right, Troy. 70. We were up by 70.
Yeah.
Oh,
6-30. It's kind of funny. I gotta bring this up. I was doing some research. We always do. All three of us do research for these interviews with you guys. And back then, we didn't have the computers like we did now. And everything that I got these. I printed them out today. These are all handwritten documents that were scanned and put in from the coaches. And it's hilarious. You can see all the Xing out and the marks and stuff like that. And it's just amazing of that championship year. But everything was handwritten. That's how hilarious some of this was. So, yeah, 106-30. You beat Brockport that year, 105-63. Your first game of the year was against Clarkson. You remember that game?
Was that Clarkson?
Yeah. 101-46.
I was gonna say, I remember.
Yeah, we Clarkson.
Yeah.
Or Sports.
They put up some huge numbers, that we've never, that we don't rarely see that anymore up there, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I'll answer the question too. As a fan, every game I went to, it was just a kind of a foregone conclusion that it was going to be a Potsdam win. Yep. It never even entered my mind that you would lose.
It's like going to.
That's exactly how I felt, Dave. For real.
Yeah.
We had to be there a couple hours before the game in order to get seats. They don't allow people on the end zone anymore in there because you guys are like on the end, and you guys are taking layups and running into people on the end. That I remember all that. They were wrapped around and they're standing in the doorways just to watch. People were in the hallway and getting secondhand information who scored that, and they were standing in the hallway. I know. I was there. We didn't dare go to the bathroom because you didn't know if you were going to get back in. It was
there's some good pictures. Obviously, the documentary got a lot of stuff, but you see that. You see by our bench, there's just 4 rows deep standing there, at the baseline. That's that year we played at Albany, we lost in 84-85. We went down to Albany, which was not good. But undefeated year, that was fire marshal closed the building because they wouldn't let any more people in. Timmy Welsh was coming to see, and he had to go, hey, this is my father's team, and to get into the building. But that's pretty.
He couldn't get in. He couldn't get in.
Yeah, he eventually got in, but they're like, no more people in this gym.
Wow,
that was a big time. Big time.
It was mentioned earlier. As a kid going to the summer camp, went every year, and then going to a lot of the games. But I think it was Pete that said, even now, when I go to Maxey Hall, I always walk up the ramp when I go in, and, I walk up that ramp, I go in the door, and when you walk in, you're looking at the Hall of Fame pictures and the championship teams, and you go by the pool and go by the rank, and you keep walking down the hall. And then when you just some kind of feeling when you walk in that gym, you know, even to this day. And
Hmm.
you know, it's like other places you go to famous places and you just go over and over and over again. It just becomes old hat. But there's something about Maxey Hall. I just get this feeling when you walk in there. It's like, wow, this is the place.
Joey, you've had several teams in there.
Yeah.
It's going to be even more of a charge for you just sitting on the bench where these guys sat.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's such an honor. I've played for 6 sectional championships at Maxey, won 4 of them. And every time though, I can't believe that I get to bring my team here to play on this floor. And you know, it's probably past my kids' age. They don't realize, but I do. But they realize they may not remember you guys, but they know it means a lot to me because I talk about it from day one. Boy, I would love to play at Maxey Hall again, guys, for a championship. And I've only got a couple of years left to coach. And if I get that opportunity one more time, it would be a blessing. So to be able to play for a sectional championship on that floor is just the greatest thing. Knowing that Jerry used to patrol this sideline and you guys used to be out in the middle doing all those great things that you did.
So
If Joey gets the opportunity to coach there again.
You guys grew up in the North Country, Potsdam in particular? Anybody?
What's that?
Where you guys grew up? Anybody from Potsdam?
Not specifically, no. I'm probably I'm 15 miles away from Potsdam at St. Lawrence Central and Brazier Falls, and Dave and Pete grew up in the Salmon River School District.
45 minutes.
30 miles. Yeah, about 30 miles away.
Okay.
Okay.
But no, I was going to say if Joey ever if Joey does make it back to coach at Maxey Hall, I will be a fan in the stands, just like I was watching you guys.
Joe, you got to recruit. You got to recruit.
We're not here to talk about my program. I know that. Hey, but I will say this. I'm proud of my teams in the program that I built. I mean, we're not a state contender by any matter, but at the Class C level up here, we turned ourselves from nothing into something. And I actually, in my mind, it's because I love Jerry. I love everything. I love everything about him. He calls me. That's some of the coolest stuff for me, guys. I mean, you don't know me, but Jerry called me before every one of my sectional championship games to wish me luck.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think that's going to surprise you. That's just the way he was. If he knew you and he knew that you were going to have some sort of success, he's going to call and congratulate you or wish you luck, and that's what he did. I took a lot of his stuff into a program where, number one, we're a hockey school here where I'm at. And number two, we're not in Potsdam or Canton where we're around, we don't have professors for parents and things like that. It's a tougher situation here. And I'm dad to a lot of my guys. And that's where I'm like, that's my number one job. If I can win basketball games, great. But I'm going to try to change their lives first. And I got that from Jerry. Jerry won. But I know he changed your lives because I can tell by the way you guys act and the way you talk about him. Everybody loved playing for him. He impacted your lives, and that's all I care about is trying to impact my kids' lives.
Right.
Yeah.
But Joe, to Troy's point though, he was a recruiter too. I
don't doubt that.
Jerry. But you know who really was the recruiter, John? I think you know. His son.
Well, later.
His son really got me like oh, Troy.
Yeah. Well, Troy, he got me too. But that's, that was after the fact. But I used to tell the story, I told Coach, no, I'm not going, and he kept saying, all right, I hear you. But listen, I'm going to send you an envelope. You just fill out the paperwork and sign what I'm going to send you. And, after telling him no like 5 times, all of a sudden I'm enrolled in Potsdam. And then, but I was at Fairfield, and I went to Siena for a basketball camp for the summer and coached with Timmy Welsh. And I was going to leave Fairfield. I wasn't, happy there from a playing standpoint. It's a great school, but he introduced me to Coach. And once Coach started talking to me, he never stopped. I mean, he was just recruiting, following up, and then obviously, I said I was going to go. He was talking to Brendan and Troy at the same time, and Timmy maybe was doing that. But when I was up in Troy, Coach was there, got me to go over and see Brendan. I hadn't seen Brendan in probably 3 years plus, since high school.
Right.
He's like, "You going up?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go up there. I guess I'm going to go up." And all right, I'll go up. And then he, took that to Troy and said, "Hey, these guys are going up." And so he got, that was a hell of a recruiting class that he worked pretty hard to get.
He worked that nice too. That was really nice the way he did that, man. I didn't know he came and got you and took you over to Brendan to see Brendan.
Brendan was coaching the camp, that day. So just to say, eye to eye, we're going up. Troy talked about that story, coming up 56. So I was driving, and so most of the times we came home, I go over to Albany, wait out in front of Troy's house in the morning for a couple of hours actually until Troy got up and came out. And then we take that 5-hour ride up to Potsdam. Unfortunately, we enjoy ourselves on the way too. It's a long route to the Adirondacks into Potsdam. So, but we did it many times. Snowstorms, 2 roads. You get behind an 18-wheeler. It's like take your life in your hands going up there. But
beautiful sightseeing. Beautiful sightseeing.
Yeah, the first time it's beautiful sightseeing, and then it's just back roads trip. So
with no light.
Troy and I drove that route many times in 2 years. Yeah. Sure.
John used to say, yo, once we get up there, you got to pour us out of the car. So that was fun.
I cover the courts, family courts in Jefferson County, St. Lawrence County over the last 20 years. So dealing with a lot of judges and court folks and things like that. So when I go up there, I'm having nothing but flashbacks all the time. It's all great. And then when I get out the car, I get into the building to the courts. I'm always running into folks that were fans and they know me. So once again, it's like I'm back to the 80s all the time. So I never have a bad time going up north. It's always a good time. I've met more and more people. And every time I meet someone over the last 20 years, going back and forth, I always meet another person that knows about Potsdam basketball, that knows about Coach Welsh. So it's always a good feeling going up north country.
Yeah,
it's an easy ride from Syracuse, though, Pony. I do that now because I fly from Atlanta into Syracuse, and it's like it's nothing to go from Syracuse to Potsdam as opposed to going from Troy to Potsdam. That's a different hub.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but John, the Adirondacks is beautiful, though. You know that. You just gotta.
It is. I'm not saying it's not. It's just
right.
It's.
I loved it.
That's where I live. That's where I live now. I live in the Adirondacks right now.
That's nice.
It's beautiful country.
Yeah, but I want to ask you guys. I wanted to talk about like the court. That court has a character of its own.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. I mean, that court, for some reason, you see the light shining off of it, the red. I'm like, damn, this court is nice, man. It was just that court that, again, John, we never lost on that court, and I take a lot of pride in that. A lot of pride that I never lost on that court. I remember we were playing the 81 team back in one of those.
Alumni, yeah, we beat them too, Troy.
Alumni game,
right? Well, Derek's like, yo, Troy, slow down, man. You're going too hard. I said, D, man, I never lost on this court, and I don't plan on losing. We won by 1 though, but Coach was coaching the other team. And this is a good one, guys. I'm going to share this with you. So Tim was coaching us. And it came down to a last play, guys. Actually, it came down to 1 play.
That's right.
And Coach must have knew. Because he told the dude from Buffalo, what's his name? Oh, he's like a teacher. Now, he was up there. What's his name? He was after us.
After us?
Yeah, he was after us. Strong dude, kind of bald head. Anyway, coach told him, give Troy a head fake, he's gonna jump. Oh, I jumped.
I know.
You remember that?
Yes, I do.
But guess what, though? My man always used to say to me, Brendan Mitchell, will follow up and wave his hand, and the ball rolled and went out, and we won that game. I said, Coach told me, give me that. But it was funny though, guys. That was a really that was a good run that day.
And that was 10 years after you played for him, Troy. He still remembered what you.
Oh, Coach remembers everything, man. Talks about my son. My son is like 38 right now. Got 2 kids. I was like, Troy, how's your son doing? Is he okay? I'm like, wow. And he Coach took him home one time from Potsdam. And I think just that little ride. Coach, when you talk to Coach, when you spend time with him, like you said, Joe, it's going to do something to you. It's going to make you like think a little more. It's going to make you think a little more because it's not hard what he's saying. It's simple. It's simple and plain. Yep. Do the next right thing. One more and I'm going to stop. I was coaching Albany High. I actually got the Albany High job because of Coach Welch. And first African-American to coach of the public high school in this area because of Coach Welch. And I had a player, right, 6'6", wasn't going to class, but he was 6'6", and he could play. And he was good. And so I'm talking to my assistant coach saying, well, we can squeeze him in there just a little bit. And we can do this and we can do that. And it came down to me like, okay, I'm gonna call my coach. And I called Coach Welch. And I said, Coach, this kid is really good. He can help me win. He can, I said, but he said, what's the other side, Troy? He said, but he's just not going to class, Coach. Coach said, Troy, you can't play him. And I was like, Coach, he's 6'6", he can help me win. It'll be okay, I'll get him, I'll work on him. He said, Troy, you can't play him. You can't. Let it go, move on. I mean, seriously, I was like, that's my coach. Because I was looking for every excuse to put this guy in the game, and I couldn't. His principal, he's which is other school. His principal was like, "Well, we can work it out, do something different." So I had that in my pocket, but when I called Coach, he was like, "No, you can't play him," and that was it. And I just thank Coach for that because we had a tough season, but a lot of the kids that I was coaching who were talented wasn't going to class, and that was it. Sorry, guys, I'm talking too much.
Oh, no.
Not at all.
Yeah, but you went to Coach because you knew how Coach was going to answer that situation. You just wanted validation of your feelings,
That's a psychologist on the team, guys, just to let you know.
No, I mean,
psychologist.
You had to know how Coach was going to respond to that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been through that scenario about 1 million times, didn't he? So he knew the answer to that, and you knew he knew the answer.
I did.
That was fine, but that's what Coach was all about. Lean on me, lean on me for self-assurance and whatever you need. And, he wouldn't make you feel bad or he wouldn't, deliver whatever his answer was, it would be in a humble way, even though, you might, I mean, with him, I remember no question is a stupid question. That's the type of guy he was.
Right.
Because he wanted to make sure he covered what it was or what it could be that you were dealing with, no matter what it was. So he had no problems extending himself. And that's why someone always felt good about him after you spoke with him, because he was genuine.
Beautiful.
I don't know any person that knows so many people, not only knows so many people, but will call and pick up a phone and know exactly what happened that day with this. I don't know how he does it. That's one of the reasons why I know how, he's so special. Because he really invests in what he says. He really, you know what I mean? He does what he says he's going to do. That's what, if you're around Jerry Wells, if you're around Coach Cohen, if you're around the coaches that he had around him, they were him too. Coach Cohen was another one. I don't think I remember him raising his voice.
Nope.
But I remember him making a point when he needed, but he was so genuine. He was just like Coach. He was like the good cop. Coach was the bad cop, so to speak. If Coach had enough, he'd send you over to Coach Cohen, and Coach Cohen would break it down for you.
Yeah, I didn't even realize at the time that Coach Cohen was also got his own program at Canton at the time.
Hello.
Right?
Yeah, this was a beautiful thing.
I thought he was full time with us because he put a lot of time in over there.
Absolutely.
I tell a story. Our championship year, you guys probably saw it in the documentary. Coach, he fractured his back or slipped in a driveway or something. And we were going up to play Colby. And Pete, you might have this score because this was a tight game. But Coach did not go with us. He could not travel. He couldn't drive. We were driving a van from Potsdam to Colby, Maine. So, in winter months, they said, yeah, doctor said you can't go. And, we got up there. We played in that Colby tournament, 2 games. We had the championship against Colby, and it was a tight game. But, I played the hardest I've ever played at Potsdam because I was I was going home to Jerry with a loss because he wasn't. Right?
Oh, man.
It was, what was the score of that Colby game? You got?
It was close, like you said, John. I remember. I was so disappointed in ourselves and myself too.
62-55.
62-55.
Yeah.
It was a tight game. I can't remember the games like Pony Troy. Brendan can remember every point he ever scored. But
I can't. That's Troy. He can remember Tim Harris. Those two.
Tim Harris.
I can't.
I remember situations.
We all we all just like, listen, we can't lose this game.
Yeah.
And we did not lose that game. But that was a big thing that, to go back. You talk about the North Country, right? How we had to drive everywhere. It was no the D3 school, there was no bus, right? It was cars and vans and, him putting together just how to get us from point A to point B. And, I said to the documentary guy, that should be a whole chapter in the documentary. Yeah. What Jared did is transporting the team. Joe, you got to do the same thing, but, he got us, from here to there. And it was always a couple people driving, some car here, state car, somebody had to drive and, packing in a van. So it was interesting times.
Yeah. And Coach would drive. Coach would actually drive.
Yeah. I remember when Coach had said we were going somewhere in a van. I think we were going to Gulf State. And Coach was like, I'm like asking Coach, I'm like, Coach, we number 1 in the country. We can't fly. We're the best team in the country. We can't fly. And Coach was like, we have to learn to deal with adversity. That's the first time I ever heard that word. And I stood back. I was like, wow. And I think he defined it, the word afterwards. He defined it. And I was like, okay, I got it. You need to learn how to deal with adversity.
Yeah. In other words, this ain't Sienna.
Huh?
In other words, he was saying, this is not Sienna.
That's what he said.
We had a little smaller budget.
But that was our championship year. That game in Colby was adversity. The fact we got, went down to Syracuse to get on a flight, delayed, got up in the air, and there was a snowstorm, and I think we were flying to Detroit, and they're like, we're turning back to Syracuse. And this is pre, 9/11. So the minute that pilot said that, Coach got out of his chair and started banging on the pilot's door. We can't go back to Syracuse. You got to put us down somewhere else. And then we land in Syracuse because they're like, yeah, sit down, crazy guy. We're going back to Syracuse. Got into Detroit, and place was shut down, right? We were the last plane in there, place was shut down. And coach is out on the street commandeering a Greyhound bus to take us to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
I didn't remember that.
I did it, but we really didn't even fit on it. But we all got on that bus and got to Grand Rapids at like 2:30 in the morning. We were supposed to have a dinner that night.
Gracious.
And, got up and had practice, and it was just, that was adversity, Troy. So we definitely dealt with some adversity.
Yeah, he gave us that. He gave me that speech. I was just like, okay. But I'll tell you what, guys, this was what was also a big part is the character of each person on our team. I thought that we were good dudes, man. We were really good people. I think Coach would tell you guys that, Joe. I think he would really tell you that our team we were together. We didn't have any like hang-ups or jealousy against each other. We liked each other. We could get on each other, but we would get on each other with respect. It wouldn't be like, oh, you ain't doing that. Nope, not like that. We'll talk to each other. And I think, there wasn't any like negative mentality from us. It wasn't, I mean, we would get drunk, we of course stupid stuff, but we was never really like trouble.
We had no animosity on our team. We had no animosity. I can't remember. Like I said, just before you got to that 1 year, we had a little, disrupt, but it wasn't allowed. I mean, there was no reason for it.
No reason. No.
But not recruit you if he didn't think that you were and or had the ability to be a good person or better yourself. If you were truly out there, he had compassion for you, but if it wasn't a good mix, he wasn't going to indulge.
Mm-hmm.
So, he knew all the, kids that he brought on campus to the team. They were good people, coming from good surroundings, whether it was their own family, their coaches, their mentors, or whomever it was. So, he's very conscious of that, of your potential or where you at now, where you can be. So, as I got older, I realized that at the time I didn't realize it. I didn't know what his methods were. I used to get mad at him. What is he doing? But as you get older and you start seeing, and he starts sharing stories with you why he did last year, what he won't do to you this year, you start understanding. So you become a part of who he is, and then you start teaching the younger kids, the freshmen that are coming out. When Steve Babbyars came out, I took him aside. I remember taking him aside. Coaches like, Ponies, talk to him, show him. And that's what I did. And soon after, Steve was as comfortable as any freshman could be, coming from as a senior, just kind of like dominating the Utica area, and then getting out campus and seeing, Troy Turner, John Leonard, Brendan Mitchell, Barry Stanton, Tim Harris. These guys were no joke, So, we learn to encourage one another, especially our younger guys. And halfway through the season, I remember Coach was saying, Pony, what do you think about Steve? He said, you think he can get out there? I said, yeah, Coach, you've been running him pretty good in practice, and putting him in the first team a little bit, getting him a little mix, because Steve was a baller. He just had to get his confidence back going. And once he did that, he got comfortable with those who were around him. He was a problem from that point on, especially his sophomore year, he was a problem.
But Steve, sorry to cut you up, Steve had a lot of respect for us, man. A lot.
Yeah.
I used to see, like, he just would look at us like, he'd just look at us like, you guys are like up there, and I'm just like, nah, man, you with us.
Yeah. Well, I think
he did. You say Steve was a baller, and from what we hear, he still is.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's still playing.
Great athlete.
Well, Troy, it's funny because after the documentary, David, I had talked, and I said, boy, there's a lot of possibilities for more shows here now that we've had a chance to meet a lot of you guys. And before I could reach out to you, Troy, Steve said, can you get Troy on your talk show? Because we've had Steve on our show. and he said, "You got to get Troy on. You got to get Troy. I want to hear him talk. I want to hear his stories." So, he's part of the reason you three are on this show.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I know I'm definitely because of Troy. Troy's like, you gotta get on this. You gotta get on this. I think I made one. I was scheduling conflict, but apologize for that. But obviously watch you guys, and it's great what you guys are doing.
Steve did say one thing about you, Troy. He says you were quiet. So I haven't picked up on that at all. So.
No, Pete, I think what he's saying is that Troy, New York is quiet now that Troy's not in the area anymore.
Yeah, not this Troy right here.
No. Listen, man, Potsdam was it was one of the best times of my life, if not the best. And the lessons learned, the people met, the things accomplished. I'm grateful, man. I think Coach said that to me one time. He said, "Troy, so grateful." I said, "Yeah, Coach, man. Without you, man, I'll be in the street, man. I'll be in the street."
Troy, that's a sentiment that was echoed by a lot of guys that weekend that we were there.
Right.
A lot of guys that said that was probably one of the best times of their lives, and they're where they are today because of what what the coach meant to them and the lessons you learned in Potsdam, New York.
It's a different town now. We were up there in November for a couple of nights. I remember downtown hopping. We were downtown every Friday, Saturday night, sometimes other nights of the week too. But
John, you started on Wednesday. John started on Wednesday.
That was Threepers at that bar. So
Maxfield.
Thursday was $1 Heineken's at the Maxwell. So it was up and down the street. But, it just seemed, there was nobody really, none of the students are down there obviously anymore. Because I think, whatever, I don't know. I have a 34-year-old, so I'm not connected with the college life too much. But it was a different feel than when we were college students there and going downtown and going to. It was packed houses
all day.
The Rusty Nail.
The Rusty Nail. That was Wednesdays.
Well, guys, we could probably talk all night. Unfortunately, we can't. But look, one of the for Dave and I, and it was unfortunate that Pete couldn't be there, but for Dave and I, for Francesco to ask Dave and I to be at the red carpet there, and we got to be with you guys that whole weekend, and as much fun as Dave and I had, the one thing that I took out of it the most was just the genuine love that you guys have for each other, that whole program, not just your team, but the whole legacy of Coach Welch from the get-go, and especially obviously through the 80s. But I took that to heart. I was just amazed. And it was one of the best weekends of my life, just being an outsider, being able to be around you guys. I couldn't thank you enough for the way you treated Dave and I that weekend, and we had a blast. And if you got some more teammates that you'd like to hear, send them our way. We'd love to have them on and let them tell their story. But I'll tell you, this past hour just flew by listening to you guys talk.
Well, I just want to say thank you for giving this opportunity to, to be heard. And as soon as Troy, came at me a couple of weeks ago, probably a couple months ago, like John, he was insistent that we do this. I'm not this type of person. I don't do a lot of interviews. I do interviews, but I'm usually the one conducting interviews.
Right.
But had a blast tonight. Glad to see Troy, John, and meet you guys. And just want to thank you for all you've done and all the support that you've given to us at Potsdam and in the North Country over the years. Thank you.
I echo those statements exactly. Well said, Pony. Appreciate you guys keeping the North Country alive and doing it. And Troy was the catalyst. Troy's like, you got to do this, you got to do this. And so I appreciate you doing that, Troy. It's great to see you, as always. And so not sure when the next reunion is, but I'm not sure it would be in Potsdam, but, looking forward to seeing you guys in person. Hopefully see you guys there as well, wherever that is, there's always some gathering with the Potsdam alum somewhere.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah.
Joey, Dave, and Pete, I just want to thank you for, allowing us to come on and just thinking about us. I mean, I knew it would have been a good interview, and I honestly and I truly thank you guys from my heart for like bringing us back to where the glory days, you know what I mean? Those glory days for us, because they were really, really fun days. And so thank you very much. Thank you.
It's absolutely our pleasure.
Hey,
Thank you,
guys, there's three things that dominate the 130 so shows that we've done. One is Glens Falls High School basketball. We talk about that all the time. Number two is Derek Malone, who's the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, and he won the Stanley Cup. But number three, and it's not even close, is you guys. I mean, we talk Potsdam State Bear basketball probably on at least half of our shows. So you guys come up all the time, even with people that weren't directly associated with you. Somehow it'll turn to Maxie Hall, Jerry Welch, and those 1980s Bears. So you guys are talked about constantly.
Thank you.
Off air, you guys have talked about when we get together to have a couple beers, we always reminisce about the old days, because there's nothing like the old days. So really, I enjoyed this almost an hour and 20 minutes. And like Joey said, we could go on for hours and talk, reminiscing. Just to hear you guys reminiscing with each other brought back a lot of memories for us. And we truly do appreciate you coming on. We hope we can do this again with you. We'd like to give you that invitation to come back on. Would you do that?
Absolutely. Just find that guy named Troy. And I'm sure
he'll make it happen.
We'll look it up.
We'll try to get.
I'll make sure to get on, Pete.
All right, we'll try to get you out of your shell next time, though, Troy. So, hey.
Yeah, I have my friends. I got my friends here, so you guys are my friends. So
There you go.
Having fun.
Thanks a lot for coming on. That's going to be it here tonight on ESS, Empire State Sports and the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your host, Dave, Joey, myself, and our very special guest, John Leonard, Troy Turner, and Pony Bullock. Thank you very much, guys. Love you all. Have a good night, everybody, and stay safe.
You
All right,
too.
you-
God bless.